Last time, I ranked 10 Sonic characters based on their physical strength, from iconic favorites to some pretty obscure nobodies. But despite that, you guys showed a ton of support and crushed the goal I set. So today, we're back with 10 more characters, once again ranking them based on their raw power and fighting capabilities. This time, there's no need for a fancy title screen. You already know what we're here for. Now, just to refresh your memory, here are the ground rules. No Archie Comics content, because, let's be real, those characters are ridiculously overpowered. No visual bugs or glitches, only legitimate feats count. And no prep time, only what the characters would immediately have access to. And, for a fun twist, I'll be dropping hints before revealing each character. See if you can guess them before they show up, and let me know in the comments how many you got right. Alright, let's jump into the first character. Our first character is someone with a heart of gold and a steely discipline, a demanding sense of justice to do what's right, a personal code of honor that they refuse to break. They have mastered the art of ninjutsu and are far more powerful than people anticipate. Still don't know? Alright, here's the big hint. He is a part of Team Chaotix and is able to camouflage himself with the environment. Think you know who it is? Lock in your guess now before I reveal it. If you guessed Espio the Chameleon, you'd be absolutely correct. Espio's abilities are a hot topic of debate. Sure, he can camouflage himself to become practically invisible, but there's a catch. It takes a ton of concentration, and even then, he's not completely undetectable. Characters with enhanced senses, like Rouge the Bat, can still pick up on him, proving that stealth alone isn't everything. Heck, even bright lights are enough to throw him off and blow his cover. But don't get it twisted. Espio's invisibility is still a huge advantage against most opponents. While it requires focus, it's far from useless, allowing him to strike from the shadows and catch enemies off guard before they even know what hit them. And, credit where it's due, Espio is tough as nails. He can take serious hits and keep going, and he's far from weak. His ninjutsu skills are top tier, allowing him to slice through badness with his bare hands. He is a master of both weapons and hand-to-hand combat, which already puts him ahead of a lot of the other characters. And let's not forget, Espio is fast. Like, actually fast. He's been shown keeping up with Sonic and Shadow in terms of running speed, which is pretty insane. On top of that, he's crazy agile, pulling off mid-air acrobatics like it's nothing. So with all that in mind, Espio easily lands an A tier. Stronger than Eggman? Yeah, I'd say so. As strong as the Doc is, Espio simply outclasses him in speed and combat skills. Sorry Doc, this one goes to Espio.
I will deal with this.
This next character hails from a world in ruins, a future that they are desperately trying to fix. With an unshakable determination and a strong sense of justice, they refuse to stand by while disaster looms. Their unique abilities make them a one-of-a-kind fighter, able to turn the tide of battle without ever throwing a punch. Still don't know? Alright, here's the big hint. They're a time traveler who fights using psychokinesis. It's Silver the Hedgehog. Now, this guy's first appearance in the Sonic series? Yeah, it was rough, to say the least. But even though his debut was a mess, it still gave us a pretty accurate look to how Silver fights, even if fighting against him was absolute pain incarnate.
It's no use! It's no use! It's no use! It's no use!
Now, despite the memes, Silver actually has a strong track record. In fact, all 12 of his fans out there actually have a good point. This guy is the deciding factor in almost every major battle he's involved in. Think about it. Silver only time travels when things have gotten so bad that the world is basically a doom level. If he shows up, you know things are about to go sideways. When it comes to raw stats, Silver's not impressing anyone with speed, strength, or durability. But what he does have is absolutely cracked psychokinesis. It's like he dumped all his points in strength, agility, and charisma and just went, nah, I'm maxing out telekinesis instead. Silver can manipulate both organic and inorganic matter, suspend enemies in midair, and even launch them at breakneck speeds. If you can't outspeed him, congrats, you're now a glorified physics object. Oh, and did I mention, he can just fly. Not glide, not hover for a little bit, full on flight. This guy doesn't need a boost pad, a spring, or even solid ground. If Silver wants to be in the air, he's in the air. Combine that with his ability to teleport and shield himself from explosions, and he's got ridiculous mobility on top of everything else. Weaknesses? Well, he's way too trusting and gullible. But other than that, yeah, not much. So where does that put him? I won't drag this out. Silver is the definition of a glass cannon. But when your glass comes with a built-in psychic force field and full control over gravity itself, that's pretty terrifying. His powers might not be overly flashy, but they're ridiculously strong. Final ranking? Low S tier, right above Knuckles. Sorry Knux, your punches may hit like a truck, but good luck landing one when the other guy can just fly out of your reach and hold you in place indefinitely. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, wait a minute, doesn't Espio kinda counter Silver? And yeah, in a 1 versus 1 scenario, Espio has a real shot at taking Silver down. But let's break it down. Silver has overwhelming power. His psychokinesis gives him insane battlefield control, allowing him to suspend enemies, throw objects at high speeds, and even create barriers. This makes him a threat to almost anyone. Espio, on the other hand, is fast, stealthy, and can end a fight with one well-placed strike. Invisibility gives him an advantage, but Silver doesn't need to see to attack. He can just lift the entire battlefield and expose Espio. But why is Silver an S tier then? Because while Espio might be a direct counter, Silver is much more effective in most fights. His abilities are harder to overcome in a general sense, and he can shut down far more characters than Espio can. So why is Espio only high A tier? Because while he's an amazing fighter, he's still not as strong as Knuckles, and he has to put in way more effort to deal with heavy hitters like Silver. His abilities make him a nightmare for some opponents, but he's not an outright game changer the way Silver is. So yeah, Silver barely holds onto low S tier, and Espio rightfully earns a strong spot in A tier. This next character is an unstoppable force of nature, always on the move and never backing down from a fight. Their confidence is unmatched, and they live by their own rules, tackling any challenge head on. Whether facing a robot army or a literal god, they never lose their cool. Still don't know? Alright, here's the big hint. They're the fastest thing alive. Let's be real, this wasn't exactly a tough guess, but it's Sonic the Hedgehog, the guy who started it all. His name isn't just in the franchise, it is the franchise. Without him, none of these other characters would even exist. But the real question is he number 1? Well, let's break it down. Sonic's feats speak for themselves. This guy has taken down more gods than I have fingers to count on, isn't lacking in raw strength, and his biggest weapon? Adaptability. If there's one thing Sonic doesn't do, it's back down. He could be facing an enemy 10 times his size, overloaded with chaos energy, or even an omnipotent reality warping nightmare, and he'd still be grinning like it's a casual morning jog. Sonic is constantly thrown into versus debates, being compared to absolute titans of fiction. Goku, Superman, The Flash, Batman, the entire Warhammer 40k universe, Mario, Crash Bandicoot, Donkey Kong, Kirby, Mega Man, Captain Falcon, even Tracer for some reason! You name a franchise, there's a Does Sonic beat X discussion somewhere on the internet. But here's the thing. Most of these arguments rely on Archie or Fleetway comics, treating them as some kind of unspoken bible of Sonic power. But personally, that feels like a cop-out. That version of Sonic is so broken that there'd be no reason for his friends to exist. He could just snap his fingers and delete every villain before they even think about doing bad. But when we focus on the games, that's where Sonic's power becomes way more grounded. Yes, he's fast. Yes, he's strong. Yes, he's pulled off insane feats, but how does he actually stack up? Well, let's start with the obvious. Sonic's speed alone puts him firmly in S tier. His adaptability? That boosts him even higher. He's beaten reality warping enemies, rivals stronger than him, and he still comes out on top. That puts him in high S tier without question. Now, the real question. Is Sonic stronger than Shadow? If we're talking a straight up fight, no Chaos Emeralds, no prep time, just raw skill and ability, Sonic actually wins. Shadow's biggest advantage has always been his Chaos abilities. Without them, Sonic holds the edge in speed, stamina, and battle instincts. Speed? Sonic has always matched or outpaced Shadow in races. Endurance? Sonic has near limitless stamina. Shadow burns out quicker. Combat instincts? Sonic's been fighting without power-ups his whole life. Shadow, meanwhile, leans heavily on Chaos abilities. I know what you're wondering, but what if Shadow removes his inhibitor rings? Well, that's a different story. Shadow's inhibitor rings suppress his full strength and chaos energy output to keep him from burning out too quickly. If he takes them off, he becomes exponentially stronger and faster at the cost of stamina. At full power, Shadow's physical attacks hit way harder. He'd be able to overpower Sonic early in the fight, but he has a time limit. His energy burns out fast. Now, here's the thing. Sonic isn't dumb. If he sees Shadow take those rings off, he'd immediately recognize that attacking head-on is a terrible idea. Again, Sonic's greatest strength is his adaptability. He wouldn't fight Shadow the same way anymore. He'd focus on dodging, countering, and outlasting instead. So, if Shadow removes the rings and rushes Sonic down immediately, he could win, but he's on a timer. And if Sonic drags the fight out, Shadow loses steam and Sonic takes the win again. Look, I'm not gonna lie, this was ridiculously hard to decide. For the longest time, I genuinely thought Shadow just wins, no question. I mean, let's be real, he's a way better fighter than Sonic. He's got military training, actual combat discipline, and an arsenal of techniques that put him on a whole other level. But the more I dug into this, the more I realized that Sonic's adaptability is just unreal. Shadow might have the edge in technique, but Sonic is the king of figuring things out on the fly. That's why if Shadow takes off the inhibitor rings, Sonic's not gonna try to go blow for blow. He's smart enough to switch up his approach and fight differently. And honestly, that's what makes this matchup so cool. It's not just about raw power, it's about who can outthink and outlast the other. But honestly, I don't think it's fair to fully judge this fight in just this one ranking. If we really want to know who wins, it'd take a full in-depth breakdown of both Sonic and Shadow's abilities, beats, and fighting styles. And that's a whole other video on its own. At the end of the day, this fight is ridiculously close, so I totally get it if you think I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments who you think would win and why.
Alright, bring it on!
Enjoying the video so far? Well, if you are, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Thanks for the support. This character is a master manipulator, a smooth talker, and an expert at getting what they want. Whether through charm, skill, or sheer audacity, they never leave empty-handed, but don't mistake them for just another thief. When the fight starts, they're more than capable of holding their own. Still don't know? Alright, here's the big hint. They're an elite spy with a love for shiny things. It's Rouge the Bat! Yeah, I know. Not exactly the most intimidating follow-up to the powerhouses we just covered, but let's be real, she's gotta be ranked somewhere. Now, Rouge is best known as a master thief, and her charm, wit, and flirtatious attitude helps her get whatever she wants. But in a straight-up fight, you'd think she doesn't stand much of a chance, right? Wrong. Rouge is dangerous. If she tells you she won't lay a finger on you, you better start running, because it's not her hands you should be worried about, it's her kicks. You thought Chun-Li had insane leg strength? Rouge is out here cutting through thick glass with pinpoint precision using just her feet. Her insane kicking power alone earns her a solid high B tier, sitting just below Vector. But wait, we haven't even factored in her flight. Rouge can stay airborne for extended periods without breaking a sweat, making her a serious challenge to pin down. With that in mind, she edges just above Vector. That said, Her stealth is a bit situational. In a night fight, Rouge is nearly untouchable, but broad daylight? Good luck staying hidden when the sun is putting you on full display.
Leave this to me.
This next fighter is a whirlwind of energy, always ready to throw themselves into battle without a second thought. Adventurous, fearless, and never backing down. They see every fight as a chance to prove themselves. And when things get rough, they'll just swing back into action. Still don't know? Alright, here's the big hint. They've got a tail that acts as both a weapon and a grappling hook. It's Tangle the Lemur. If you don't know who she is, she hails from the IDW Sonic comics, and has quickly became one of Sonic's closest allies. If you're planning to read the comics and want to avoid spoilers, feel free to skip to the next character using YouTube's chapter feature. Alright, let's talk Tangle. Now, in my personal opinion, the biggest thing going for her in a fight is her tail, and honestly, it's ridiculously strong. We're talking about a fully prehensile tail that functions like a third arm, except way longer, way tougher, and way more versatile than any normal limb. She's used it to grab enemies, launch herself across battlefields, and even block attacks like a whip shield. Tails' namesake? Completely outclassed. But here's where things get interesting. Tangle isn't just her tail. She's also a brawler at heart, and she thrives on momentum-based combat. The more you let her move, the harder she is to stop. She swings, grapples, and rebounds off surfaces like a hyperactive wrecking ball, making her an absolute nightmare for anyone trying to pin her down. Not to mention, her durability is off the charts. She's taken direct hits from some of the Deadly Six and still kept fighting, and when she gets back up, she gets even more fired up. Now, as much as I love Tangle, and trust me, I really do, she's not without weaknesses. Her tail may be her biggest asset, but it's also a major liability. It's a big target, and if someone fast or smart enough grabs a hold of it, they can completely shut her down. Plus, while she's got heart, she doesn't quite have the finesse or technical skill of a true martial artist. She's all about wild, unpredictable movement, which works until she meets someone who can outthink her. So where does that leave her? Well, she definitely beats Mr. Tanaka, but taking on Vector? Yeah, I don't see that happening. She's high B tier at best, but she doesn't quite have the strength, experience, or combat IQ to crack into A tier. Strength, power, and sheer brute force. This character has all three in spades. They might not be the quickest thinker, when it comes to smashing through obstacles, nothing stands in their way. If something needs to be broken, they're the one for the job. Still don't know? Alright, here's the big hint. They're the powerhouse of the Babylon Rogues. It's Storm the Albatross. This guy, honestly, he's just a big goofball when you think about it. Yeah, he's not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, but he's not really a villain either. Just a small-time criminal with a serious loyalty to the Babylon Rogues. Now, let's not sugarcoat it. Storm is an absolute tank. He's built like a freight train, and his raw strength is definitely his biggest asset. The guy had the guts to step up to Knuckles, which didn't end well for him, but still, just having the nerve to throw hands with someone like Knuckles speaks volumes. That said, being strong doesn't always mean you're the best fighter. Storm is powerful, but he's slow, predictable, and not exactly the most skilled combatant. So, where does he rank? While he's physically stronger than Tangle, I don't think he'd actually beat her in a fight. Tangle's agility, combat instincts, and ridiculously versatile tail would let her dance around Storm all day long. She'd just be too fast for him to land a solid hit. As for Vector, no way. Vector's raw power, durability, and actual fighting skills make him a step above Storm. That leaves Storm sitting comfortably below Tangle and Vector, but still above Tanaka. Damn, my boy Tanaka's getting stomped on today. This warrior is cold, calculating, and completely ruthless. Their overwhelming strength makes them a nightmare in combat, and their leadership skills make them even more dangerous. If you're facing this character, you better bring your A game, because they don't tolerate weakness. Still don't know? Alright, here's the big hint. They're the leader of the Deadly Six. It's everyone's favorite character to hate on, Zavok the Zeti. Now, let's be real. Why on Chaos's good name does this clown keep showing up? Seriously, you had your limelight in Lost World. Now you're like a clingy ex texting at 3 AM about how much they miss you. Dude, seriously, get a hobby. But if you look past the many, many shortcomings of Zavok existing when he shouldn't, this guy is actually pretty threatening. Now, the reason why Zavok is stronger than you may think, well, first of all, he's mentored by Master Zik. Zavok wasn't just born strong. He was trained by Master Zik, an ancient, battle-hardened warrior who shaped him into the ruthless powerhouse he is today. Zavok isn't just some dumb brute. He's a disciplined fighter with actual combat skill. He's the leader of the Deadly Six. This isn't just some random tough guy. Zavok is the leader of the Deadly Six, meaning he has command ability, tactical awareness, and enough presence to keep his gang in check. That alone speaks volumes about his strength. And he's got durability and strength. Zavok has taken multiple hits from Sonic and still kept going. This man does not go down easy. He's got the toughness to tank some serious damage and still come back swinging. And he's just a sadistic fighter. Unlike a lot of Sonic villains who just want power, Zavok actually enjoys tormenting his enemies. He loves playing with his victims, drawing out fights, and making his opponents suffer. He fights like a predator, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Now, the big problem with Zavok are his Zeti powers. One of Zavok's most unique abilities is his Zeti power to control machines. He can take over Eggman's robots, bend them to his will, and even hijack entire armies if given the chance. Sounds terrifying, right? Yeah. If you're a robot, if his opponent isn't mechanical, then this ability is nothing more than a cool party trick or an awkward conversation starter at social events. His biggest weaknesses? Well, first of all, his overconfidence. Zavok has massive main character syndrome. He thinks he's way stronger than he actually is, and it always leads to his downfall. He underestimates his enemies constantly. And really, he's not that fast. Zavok is strong and durable, but he's not fast. If he's up against someone with high-speed movement like Sonic, Shadow, or Espio, he struggles to keep up. And no robots equals no special powers. His ability to control machines is completely useless against fighters who don't rely on technology. If he's up against Knuckles, Espio, or even Vector, that power does absolutely nothing for him. So, where do we put him? All things considered, Zavok deserves A tier. He's stronger than Eggman, but not as powerful as Knuckles. He's got serious physical strength, battle experience, and durability, but his overconfidence, slow movement, and situational abilities hold him back. And let's be honest, if Zavok didn't have his Zeti powers, he'd be just a tough red dude with horns and an attitude problem. Knuckles folds him in half.
I will show you my full strength.
Disciplined, noble, and powerful, this warrior is a true protector. Their speed is matched only by their precision, and they've spent their life honing their skills. They may seem reserved, but once they unleash their full power, very few can keep up. Still don't know? Alright, here's the big hint. They control fire and hail from another dimension. It's Blaze the Cat. Now, if you haven't played Sonic Rush, you're seriously missing out because this feline is one of the coolest additions to the Sonic franchise. She's got speed, she's got skill, and most importantly, she's got fire. Blaze is a highly disciplined warrior, incredibly agile, and has an insane level of combat proficiency. In fact, she's one of the few characters who can keep up with Sonic's speed, which is no small feat. Blaze's pyrokinesis is where she really shines. This isn't just some cool party trick, she has complete mastery over fire, able to launch powerful flame-based attacks, engulf herself in fire to boost her physical strikes, and even use it for enhanced mobility. She's been shown spitting mid-air like a fiery tornado, creating massive explosions and straight up incinerating opponents in battle. That alone puts her well above most characters. Now, compared to everyone we've ranked so far, Blaze is easily A tier, no doubt about it. She's got the skill, speed, and versatility to dominate most opponents. But does she beat Knuckles? Well, no. Knuckles may not be as fast as Blaze, but what he lacks in speed, he more than makes up for in raw endurance and sheer durability. Blaze is powerful, but not invincible. And while she can definitely deal massive damage to Knuckles, he's proven time and time again that he can take a ridiculous amount of punishment and keep going. In a drawn out fight, Knuckles wins purely because he refuses to go down. So while Blaze is a top tier fighter, she ranks just below Knuckles in S tier, landing at high A tier instead. If she had the Soul Emeralds, different story. But for now, Knuckles takes the edge.
Leave it to me.
This next character is always watching, always waiting, and always prepared for the worst. Call them paranoid if you want, but they know better than to trust everything at face value. Wild, unpredictable, and weirdly insightful, they might just be the only one who sees the truth. Still don't know? Alright, here's the big hint. They live in the jungle and have a deep distrust of technology. That's right, it's Styx the Badger. Now, if you don't know much about Styx, let me paint you a picture. Imagine a survivalist conspiracy theorist with the combat instincts of a wild animal and the reflexes to match. And yeah, that's Styx in a nutshell. Styx is weird, but that weirdness actually makes her insanely dangerous in a fight. She's completely unpredictable, which makes her incredibly difficult to counter. She fights like an animal, using wild, erratic movements and unorthodox attacks that would catch even the most trained fighters off guard. And the best part? She's not just crazy, she's actually good. Her weapon of choice? A boomerang, but don't underestimate it. She uses it with ridiculous precision, nailing fast-moving targets without even looking. She's also incredibly acrobatic, capable of dodging attacks and navigating terrain like she was born for it, which honestly, she probably was. Now, where does she rank compared to everyone else? Well, while Styx is an excellent survivalist and an effective fighter, she doesn't have the raw power or experience to take on some of the higher tier fighters. She's definitely beating Tanaka, no doubt about that, and she can probably outmaneuver Storm in a fight. But against someone like Tangle or Vector, that's where things get tricky. Styx is wild and unpredictable, but she lacks the raw strength to match them in a head-on fight. Her best chance is using her smarts and agility to stay out of reach, but in a pure strength contest, she's not winning. Because of that, Styx lands in mid-B tier, below Tangle and Storm. She might not be the strongest fighter, but let's be real, if this was a survival competition, she'd probably be the last one standing.
Winning again? You know it!
And that's the list. We've gone through some of the strongest, fastest, and downright weirdest fighters in the Sonic universe. And honestly, this was way harder to put together than I expected. Some of these placements were really tough to decide, and honestly, I could go back and forth on a few of them forever. Characters like Silver, Espio, and Blaze had me second guessing myself the whole way through. And even Sonic vs. Shadow isn't as clear cut as I once thought. In fact, if I was being completely fair, I'd probably need to do an entirely separate deep dive video just to fully break down Sonic and Shadow's power levels. There's so much to consider, and a short segment just isn't enough. But hey, what do you think? Do you agree with the rankings? Do you think someone deserves to be higher? Lower? Or did I completely butcher one of your favorite characters? Let me know in the comments. Oh, by the way, if you want me to rank more Sonic characters, let's give this video let's go a 60 like goal. You guys absolutely smashed my last one, you can absolutely beat this one. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, and I've got plenty more Sonic content coming your way. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep flying high.